Welcome to the Moonsbridge Lodge. Tonight, you're invited to a party. A special family reunion, as it were. A fellow by the name of Vincent Fawn invites you to his, until now, abandoned inherited mansion. The Moonsbridge was once said to be the stashing spot of a great treasure by the renowned pirate within Fawn's ancestry. But I'm afraid it is quite remote, though. No internet, few locals either. Oh, but I'm sure you'll have a good time. There'll be food and drink and perhaps even a few murders. A tall, dark shadow stood upon the footsteps the way a lion circles its prey. A mustached figure clad in a crimson robe smiled to himself and petted his only friend, Jasper, the faithful Great Dane. Vincent may have been a distant, unloved branch in the Fawn family tree, but tonight, that would all change, he thought to himself. He'd give his estranged cousins a night they'd never forget. He sipped his glass in anticipation. A squad of cars finally came into view, pulling up to the drive. From a distance, they resembled hearses. Vincent thanked them for accepting his enigmatic invitations, especially from such a distant member of their family tree. He eyed them up, from head to toe. Easy profiles, the four of them. Leonard, the jot, Ronette, the apathetic redhead, Mike, the slacker, and Dawn, the techie. The quartet saw he prepared a large banquet for them, yet oddly enough, it seemed as if he was the sole occupant of this grand manor. May I have your attention? It is my proud declaration to announce I have found the treasure of our great ancestor, Pirate Stockman Thackeray's gold. I wish to split it amongst you, being the first people in our family tree to show me some social kindness in coming here, Vincent graciously declared. Tonight, it is a full moon as you can clearly see outside. Fittingly, it's moonlight shimmering on the chandelier through the window. This evening, all I request of you is to spend but one night here in the Moonsbridge Lodge. I have already prepared your rooms. I thought it was suspicious when I received an invitation to a spooky old manor in the middle of nowhere, Dawn declared. Well, gee, were the creepy hearses not more of a shock to you? The sassy voice of Mike retorted, all the while playfully twirling a switchblade and licking some jam from the home-labeled jar. Dawn continued. There's a reason our family abandoned this place all those centuries ago. Stockman Thackeray was a greedy old pirate who... Yeah, we all know that old tale. A ghost here haunting the place. You can't believe that, a silly old legend, Dawn. Hey, cool it, you two. Leonard was always the peacekeeper. He looked over at Ronette, hoping for a little backup, but she was presently caught up imagining what possibilities her great ancestor's gold might bring, and staring intently at the ornate golden cutlery, musing on how dangerous and sharp it appeared. Vincent thanked his companion for drawing everyone's attention again. Well, I leave you to chat amongst yourselves. I'll be back with dessert. Mike sat petting the Great Dane. Well, why don't we talk about what we do with the cash anyway? Get to know each other a bit. I'll go first. If there's as much gold as the legend says, then I'd sure love to travel the world. I don't know about you guys, but my end of the family tree is pretty poor. I'm not sure how Vincent could afford all this, but I do know it really should have been us. My sick old dad would have made something great out of this place. Fact is, he needs surgery bad. I know. I'd never even heard of Vincent Fawn before, Leonard added, before being rudely cut off by Dawn. If I had the gold, my tech company would buy out all the competition. I can't believe someone like him ever found the gold. My folks never liked the Fawns. They're cruel and sly, that's what Dad always said. If I had the gold, I'd just buy whatever I wanted at the time, obviously, Ronette sniped, gazing away from the others at the window. Leonard looked to Jasper, bemused at the bickering of his present company. A scream echoed in the darkness. The storm outside must have caused a power outage, but more questions remained. As the power returned, Leonard gasped in shock. What of the others? Where were they? Leonard looked to Jasper as the two remaining living souls left in the room. Stumbling before them, fell the lifeless body of Vincent Fawn, a humongous stab wound upon his upper back. Who could have done this, and why? Suddenly, a haunting traveled through the manor, a howling frost floating in the air. Who killed Vincent Fawn? The ghost of the vicious pirate, Stockman Thackeray? Where are the others? Each of them has a reason for wanting to inherit Fawn's fortune. Apathetic Ronette, the industrious techie Dawn, or the innocuous Mike? Stay with us to find out the answer. Leonard was never given to believing in ghosts, but what other explanation could account for the other missing guests? The pirate wanted revenge on Vincent Fawn, and he'd kill to do it. Even those who'd never laid eyes on the gold. His memories kept circling back to the shock of finding the stab wounds on Vincent's back. Where had the others gone? If another wasn't responsible for this crime, had they succumbed to the evil of the ghost of Stockman Thackeray? Night was drawing closer. The moonlight beaming through the tall windows would not suffice for much longer without a torch. "Ronette, Dawn, Mike," he called out. But it was a futile effort. All he could hear was the rustling of the trees outside, surrounding the Moonsbridge lodge, boxing him and the canine Jasper in this manner like a cage. Cautiously together, they turned the shadowy corner, when suddenly, a pounding fear struck their chests as terror hit Leonard. From the far end of the hall, an apparition of Stockman Thackeray glided straight towards them. The long-dead pirate was see-through, wearing rags of an age long past, grinning with maniacal intent. Closer and closer he drifted, Leonard and the dog frozen in fear. Yet suddenly, it faded through them, on a direct path to the end of the hall, passing through the walls as if nothing were even there. Had the spectre not seen them? Then Leonard saw a glistening from the shadowy corner where the ghost came from. Leonard tensed up. Had Vincent been careless enough to leave the gold so unattended and left out in the open? But no, it wasn't gold. No way, this was some sort of projector. A machine. A device styled to look like an old antique blending in with the dusty cobwebs of the lodge. As the machine powered down, more questions began to enter his head. Who set this up? Perhaps this was a trap by the late Vincent Fawn to protect his gold from intruders. Scare them with an image of the ghost of Stockman Thackeray. Leonard's gaze followed the wires leading from the machine outside the building, down from the window, outwards, towards. What was that? Jasper, the fearless canine, went on ahead, looking back to Leonard, who stood there aghast, completely forgetting about the projector. The noise was just too close. Someone living was in the next room. Perhaps one of the other guests had run away and hid themselves here. The sound had come from a nearby door. That much was certain, but which one was it? There were too many doors on this floor. Too many options for the ghost, or no, the killer to be hiding behind. No, it had to be another guest. Jasper intently patrolled across the hall, vacuuming the floor with his nose, on full alert to confirm the correct room, when distinctly something had caught his attention. Mike, Dawn, Ronette. Echoes of Leonard's voice reverberated through the hollow bastion of the lodge. Leonard had decided to chance it might be an ally in the next room. Despite this, the barren silence of the deathly night convinced him, for a brief moment, that he was the only man left in the entire world. Finally, Jasper bumped into something. Motioning him over, Leonard picked up the object, and to his shock recognized it as the very same switchblade Mike had been using earlier that evening. Blood still oozed along it. Had he guessed wrong? Behind that door must be the murderer. The blade looked much too small to kill, but what if indeed it barely, somehow had killed Vincent Fawn that way? Perhaps the killer did it with such masterful precision. He dreaded to consider this dangerous monster might be lurking in the manor still, let alone in the room ahead. Was Leonard in truth an unsuspecting rodent in a game of cat and mouse? As he pondered this new evidence, Jasper came tiptoeing back with a disturbed look in his eyes. What had the canine companion seen just beyond the next room? The murderer was in the next door. Just beyond that threshold, Leonard and Jasper both knew it instinctively. They exchanged nods and carefully, as silent as possible, Leonard tensed his fear-filled gut, strained, and as quickly as possible picked up the heavy carpet from the floor. This would be their trap on the suspect. He wouldn't be expecting them on the offense, especially with such a heavy carpet. Leonard would wrap them up and immobilize them. Leonard took a small run up and braced himself, for behind this door would be Mike, Dawn, Ronette, or even the intangible ghostly presence of Stockman Thackeray. But there would be only one way to find out for certain. Leonard careened into the room, smothering the unsuspecting occupant immediately. They never knew what hit them, stood as they were just behind the door. "Gotcha!" Leonard shouted. Slowly, the victim's squirming began to cease. This was it, the moment of truth. Leonard pulled the carpet lower to reveal the head. It was from her bob haircut and bug-eyed glasses Leonard finally determined the culprit. The murderer of Vincent Fawn was in his arms, and she was none other than Dawn. Dawn stared out into the night sky as the rain began once more. "I needed that gold. I could have been rich, more than I already am. I thought a murder and a damn ghost pirate sighting would be enough to scare you guys all out of here. It would all have been mine," she lamented. Leonard followed her gaze and spotted the cables from the projector leading up to a van. It was unmistakable. Suddenly, from out of nowhere, Mike and Ronette arrived, startling everyone. After their initial shock at the situation, Mike finally revealed where they'd been. In the blackout, Mike had chosen to take advantage of the situation and start exploring the lodge. Ronette was simply the person closest to him, and curious on his movings, she decided to follow him. Mike confirmed the switchblade did indeed belong to him. In the dark, Dawn had pinched it in a half-pulled-out method of framing him, dropping it just outside the room. So what happens now, Leonard thought. Seeing Dawn get taken into custody, Jasper began to whimper, sad at the loss of his dear master. At this, Ronette suggested Leonard take on Jasper for himself, and so a new dynamic pair was formed. But this would not be the last time that Leonard, Mike, and Ronette crossed paths, with Jasper playing detective in a murderous mystery plot. But the night grows long, and that, my friends, is a story for another day.